Well, unfortunately, we are not talking about another Phillies win or a 6-game win streak. Instead, the Philadelphia Phillies dropped the second game of this 4-game series against the Miami Marlins 8-3 on Tuesday night. Like I said, it snapped a 5-game win streak that the Phillies were on. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done against a bad Marlins team. Now, they're not going to win every game against every bad team. So, it is what it is. Welcome to Phillies Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. One of the biggest news, if not the biggest news of yesterday, it came out before the game, announced that Phillies right fielder and veteran Nick Castellanos, he was benched in last night's ball game against the Marlins because he reportedly said an inappropriate comment to Phillies manager Rob Thomson on Monday night in that win against the Marlins when Thomson was replacing Castellanos defensively in that ball game. He reportedly crossed the line with his comment, and Rob Thomson decided that his punishment was that he would sit out Tuesday night. And honestly, I'm not mad about it because on a team like this, especially doing that to a guy of Nick Castellanos' status, of a former All-Star, of a potential another All-Star season this year, a veteran, a leader in the clubhouse, benching a guy like that because of something inappropriate that he said, especially to the manager, to his coach, it just sets an example, especially for the younger guys on the team, that there will be consequences for your actions if you're not being respectful, if you're not playing the game the right way. So, obviously, it didn't work out. Maybe Castellanos could have helped the Phillies lineup yesterday win that ball game. Obviously, there was a misplay by Max Kepler out in right field during that game that cost the Phillies in Nick Castellanos' position. Maybe Castellanos doesn't make that mistake. Who knows? But I'm not mad about Rob Thomson's decision. I know a lot of people have mixed opinions about it. Some people are very mad that he decided to bench him. They thought there could have been other ways to punish Nick Castellanos for his inappropriate comment that he said to Phillies manager Rob Thomson. But, it is what it is. It was an example setter, like I said, especially to the rest of the roster, the rest of the clubhouse, that you will be held accountable for your actions. Unfortunately for Nick Castellanos, his 236 consecutive games started streak was snapped because he was benched in that ball game yesterday on Tuesday night. Those 236 games were the second longest streak in Major League Baseball, and now he will be starting all over, trying to do that again maybe. But just an impressive streak comes to an end because of unfortunate actions by the Phillies right fielder. And everything wasn't all sunshine and rainbows yesterday against the Marlins. Jesus Luzardo, the Phillies starting pitcher, on the mound last night against his former team that traded him to the Phillies this offseason in that ballgame last night against the Marlins, did not have his best stuff. And unfortunately, that is becoming an alarming and potentially worrisome trend. He had those two extremely rough starts a few weeks ago. He bounced back with a solid start, but now wasn't his best start against the Marlins last night. He had command issues, which haven't really been a huge problem for him this year, but he did walk 4 batters. It was a season high for Jesus Luzardo last night against the Marlins. It was his 4th time this season in 2025 that he's had 3 or more walks in a start, and he's had 15 starts. So like I said, not major command issues to worry about, but 4 walks in one ball game is not great, extremely high, and you can't just be giving up free passes like that because you're not going to have success. And Jesus Luzardo did not have great success last night in that loss to the Miami Marlins. He finished the game just going 5 innings, and in those 5 innings, he allowed 6 hits. He had those 4 walks, and he had 4 earned runs in those 5 innings. In the 6th inning, Jesus Luzardo started the 6th inning, didn't finish the 6th inning, couldn't record an out in the 6th inning, which is why he only went 5 innings. But he walked the first 2 batters of that bottom of the 6th inning against the Marlins offense. He was replaced by Phillies reliever Tanner Banks. And unfortunately, for the Phillies. That just spiraled out of control for them from that point. As I said, it was the bottom of the 6th inning. Luzardo replaced after walking the first 2 batters. Tanner Banks is now on the mound. The Phillies at the time had a 3-2 lead. It was looking like they were obviously going to be in some trouble with 2 base runners on with no outs to start the inning. Now, just really, really unlucky turn of events for the Phillies in that 6th inning. First, there was a swinging bunt by one of the Marlins hitters. It hit right off the knob of the bat there. It went down the third base line. They did get the out at first, but the runners both advanced to second and third base with just 1 out off that little, cheap little dribbler off the knob of the bat, swinging bunt by the Marlins. And then, right after, pretty similar outcome. One of the other batters for the Marlins hit a little dribbler, another swinging bunt type of at-bat, right down the third base line, off the end of the bat. Just very, very unlucky for 2 of those to happen right there for the Phillies with those runners on. A run did score to tie the game at 3-3. And then, unfortunately, the Marlins hit an RBI triple to take a 4-3 lead. Those 2 runs were charged to Jesus Luzardo, even though he wasn't in the ballgame, but he walked those 2 batters, so went to his line, which is why he finished with 4 earned runs instead of 2 earned runs. And then another unlucky sequence for the Phillies in that bottom of the 6th inning. As I said a few moments ago, Max Kepler was replacing Nick Castellanos in right field yesterday in that ballgame since Nick Castellanos was benched. And Max Kepler, which right field was his primary position when he was with the Minnesota Twins before he came over and started playing left field for the Phillies this season. But Max Kepler seemed to lose a line drive at him in the lights. He had said he lost it in the lights. You could see him telling Johan Rojas, the Phillies center fielder, that he lost it in the lights. Unfortunately, could not come up with the catch. Hit off his glove, dropped for a base hit. Not an error. Went down as a base hit. You can, have your opinion on that all you want. But a run did score off of that RBI single by the Marlins. So they took a 5-3 lead, scored 3 runs in that bottom of the 6th inning. Just 3 very unlucky situations, unlucky at-bats for the Phillies. Worked out for the Marlins, scored 3 runs, took a 5-3 lead, and that's really all they needed in that ball game. The Phillies obviously did not score the remainder of the game. The Marlins added on 3 more runs to win that ball game, 8-3, take game 2 of the series, tie it up 1-1, heading into Wednesday's ball game today. It's a 4-game series. There's today and tomorrow still. The Phillies can bounce back and still get a series win against the Marlins to get back on track today. So we'll see what happens. Just very unfortunate game for the Phillies. Can't win them all. Unfortunately, their win streak was snapped. Let's start a new one today against the Marlins. Get back on track. Get back in the win column. Get back to winning ways. Now, speaking of the Marlins, as I've been doing, the July 31st trade deadline is approaching, a little over a month away. And as we're playing the Marlins here, the Phillies, one guy that is emerging as a very, very good trade target for teams that need outfield help is Marlins outfielder Dane Myers. He mostly plays center field, can play a little bit of right field. He's done it this year. I'm sure he can play left field as well, but he's mostly been used in center field for the Marlins in 2025. He's a 29-year-old right-handed hitter. He's having a breakout season for the Marlins on a very bad Marlins team. Here in 2025, he's batting .333 with a .381 on base percentage, a .481 slugging percentage, an .862 OPS with 7 doubles, 4 home runs, 18 RBIs, and he's got a little bit of speed. He's got 8 stolen bases there for the Marlins in 45 games this year. He's hitting an impressive .413 against left-handed pitching, which is, you could really use that, especially in the Phillies outfield if the Phillies were to trade for him, and if they weren't to use him in center field with Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas there for the most part. They could use him maybe in left field to platoon with Max Kepler as a right-handed bat. Max Kepler is a left-handed bat. And he's obviously getting the job done against left-handed pitching, a .413 batting average. Extremely impressive out of Dane Myers. He's also an above-average fielder. He has just one error in 38 games playing center field this year with the Marlins, and he has a perfect fielding percentage in 8 games as a right fielder for the Marlins in 2025. Now, you might have noticed him playing in Game 1 against the Phillies on Monday night. He was hit by a pitch in the second inning against the Phillies. He left the game early, and then he did not play last night, Tuesday night, in that 8-3 Marlins win against the Phillies. After getting hit by the pitch in that second inning, sat out, didn't play against the Phillies for Game 2. So we didn't really get to see much of Dane Myers yet this series. We'll see if he's back in the lineup today or back in it tomorrow to close out the series to get a little more, scouting done on this outfielder that the Phillies could look at, because outfield is obviously one of their main weaknesses along with the bullpen heading into this July 31st trade deadline. Dane Myers is still pre-arbitration, so he has a lot of club control left, which makes him even a more intriguing trade asset, trade chip, trade piece for the Marlins to deal to get some trade value for other teams to look at. So they're not just getting this guy for a few months, for 1 year. They have a lot of club control left. He can stick around and hopefully build off of this impressive 2025 season that he started with. As I said, pretty much his trade value has never been higher. It may never be higher than it is right now this year in 2025. The Marlins are a bad team. They're going to be sellers at the deadline. Teams are going to be inquiring about their talent. I already spoke about one of the relievers the Phillies could look at, and Anthony Bender the other day in one of these videos I made. Dane Myers could be a guy to help and improve this Phillies outfield. So keep an eye on that as we head into the trade season. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Phillies Daily. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Thank you guys for watching, and let's go Phils. Let's get back in the win column today. See you all next time.